Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
Sitting upright, suspend the head from above. Softening through your posture, releasing all the unnecessary tension. Breathe in a comfortable, deep way. Each time when you breathe out, let a wave of release go from the crown of your head all the way down into the seat. Gradually softening the body, calming the energy, stilling the mind. Gradually letting go of the future, the past. Simply just being here with this one breath, with this sense of release. Let your emphasis be on the knowing rather than on the doing. Knowing the breath, knowing the sense of release, knowing the distractions as they arise, knowing the abandoning of them. As you return back to the breath. knowing even that there may be mental states such as trying, wanting, not wanting, liking, disliking. Nothing to do about those states. Just know them as they naturally arise, change and pass. Let the knowing of the breath and the release be a central point to return to come back into that clarity, that awareness. This means that every time you get carried away, you get lost in a train of thought, this is your point of return. Feel this breath. Feel the release during the out-breath. And you're back in the knowing. Back in presence. The more calm, the more still your body and mind become, the more you have an opportunity to see clearly how stress arises, how stress passes away. For example, becoming very intentional disrupts the calm, the stillness, and it agitates the mind and the body. How releasing this intentionality, softening it, lets body and mind return back to calm. So you can see the cause of stress. You can see the cause of the ending of stress very clearly. What makes your nervous system flare up? What makes it calm down? You can explore what it feels like to cling to thinking and to release thinking. And to cling to emotions and to release emotions. To become open, spacious, transparent to all those things. How's it like to cling to a sound? And how's it like to release that clinging? Or even just the type of clinging that is, I am practicing meditation right now, clinging to that. How's it to release that? How do you experience this type of release in your body, in your mind? And how do you experience clinging in your body and your mind? In your own time, if you like, you can slowly come back and open your eyes, stretch a bit perhaps. So then, good morning, everyone. Familiar group today. It's good to see you again. You too, Catherine. Good to have you. All right. So today, maybe coming out of this short practice, one of the topics that came up during this meditation was the topic of clinging. Experiencing what it's like to hold, to cling in your body, in your speech, in your mind. To see how this habit of holding on to things, of becoming tense within yourself, pervades so much of our experience and is responsible for stress. You can experience that quite immediately in this very moment if you look carefully. That careful looking has to be supported by stillness, by calmness. The mind isn't still, the mind isn't calm. There's no careful looking. You can't clearly see what you are doing and what the results of your actions are. You can't clearly see yourself, let alone seeing others. So of course, all our efforts, they always have to be preceded by trying to cultivate calmness, coming to a state where the mind and the body are tamed to some extent. Of course, to that extent, the more your body and mind are tamed, the calmer you become, the more you can see. This taming process, as you all know, it begins in our behavior, it begins in our daily habits, the way we think, the way we relate, what we do from the morning to the night time when you close your eyes, even what you do in your dreams. That has to be first tamed. It has to be made conducive to the practice of meditation. If you want to get anywhere with your meditative training, of course you have to have a fertile ground for it to grow on. The fertile ground is ethics, sila, morality, restraint, restraining ourselves. Cultivating what is conducive to stillness and insight, and abandoning what is not. If you see, for example, the Tibetan monks, they wear these red robes, and then sometimes they wear the yellow robe on top. That yellow color is color of the earth element. Just like you see here on the walls around, that's color of the earth element. And so that earth element is like a foundation. And those yellow robes, they stand for morality. They stand exactly for that type of training in Buddhism. I don't know how it is in Theravada. I don't know if they assigned any kind of particular symbolism to the ochre robes. But in Tibetan Buddhism, at least in the tradition that I've trained in, that is the case. Yes. The yellow color being a symbol for earth element, a foundation, morality in it. Growing upon that foundation, or from that foundation, we can then practice meditation, which simply means to still the mind, to go beyond all kinds of movements in our attention, which is very common, right? Our attention is constantly stretching out, as that word suggests, to attend, to stretch out towards. to the senses. It stretches out to sounds, sight, smell, taste, thought, and feeling. And it does that all the time, even in our dreams. The only time when the attention perhaps withdraws almost completely from the senses is in deep sleep. So this going out of the central awareness towards objects, as long as that is happening, meditation cannot happen. Meditation is a reversal of that. It is a release of the external senses and an absorption into the mind itself. A mind without holding any objects. In a way, it's similar to going to sleep at night. When you lie down and you go to sleep, you're going through a process. You're going from waking consciousness to dreaming consciousness. That transition, going from waking to dreaming, you're abandoning the 5 external senses. So we're kind of familiar with that. What that feels like to let go of the external senses. And that's a pleasant sense, isn't it? It's nice to go to sleep. It is nice to leave behind the 5 external senses. Now compare that to what you do when you sit on your cushion, when you're meditating. Is it similar? You know insomniacs. Have you ever experienced insomnia, not being able to fall asleep even though you want to? And what do you do when that happens? You usually start to try, right? You're pushing, you're trying to make sleep happen, which of course agitates you only more because this is one thing you can't make happen. You can fall into it, but you cannot make it. Just like you cannot make falling happen. Like if you were to fall down a cliff, you don't have to make effort to hit the ground. Once you're falling, that's effortless. Hitting the ground is definitely going to happen. In the same way, falling asleep is an effortless process, just like falling is. So meditation should be similar. You can't enter meditation if you're very effortful, if you're very intentional about it, if you're very clingy. And so the question then is, how do we recognize clinging? How do we actually experience it firsthand so we get a better idea of what the Buddha meant when he talked about clinging being one of the principal causes of suffering, craving, clinging, and so on. So clinging is preceded in a way, or it coexists. It exists dependently on craving. So craving is when the mind is approaching an object. It goes towards an object. Clinging is when the mind lands on that object and then holds it. Like your hand reaching out, that's craving. I'm reaching out towards an object, and once I land on that object, I touch the object, and I grab it, and I hold it, that would be clinging. The moving towards it, that's craving. So what does it feel like in your personal, direct experience in this moment? It's an interesting thing to observe. But as I said before, in order to observe that carefully and correctly, your mind needs to be calm enough to actually see these kind of movements. If your mind is completely lost in your senses, you won't be able to see clearly because your attention is busy jumping around. The jumping around is craving and clinging, but you can't see it because you're lost in it. Just like you don't understand that you're watching a movie as long as you're lost in the plot. But once you can step back and you suddenly see, there's a plastic screen in front of me. On that screen, there's a bunch of colors and lights moving. I'm watching a movie. It's just a movie. Or you become lucid in a dream. You suddenly understand, I'm dreaming right now. This is just a dream. You get a bit of a distance And it is that distance. It's not spatial distance, even though it kind of feels like it sometimes. There's a bit of a distance between you and what is happening. And it's that distance that allows you to become an observer to what is happening. That does not mean that what is happening instantly fades or goes away, because you're still kind of close to it. There's still the magnetism of your craving and your clinging that has an impact on the way things move. You're not fully withdrawn from it, so it still appears. It's still right there. So for example, as you initially withdraw from your thoughts, the thought still appears, even though there's a bit more distance now, and you're a bit more able to observe. And you can maybe see it arise and pass. Very often it's the case also that you just step back into another layer of thoughts. So you're becoming a judge of your thinking process. Maybe you think, I'm thinking too much. Or I'm thinking about this again. I shouldn't be thinking about this right now. I should go back to meditation. So you just step back a layer in your thoughts that allows you to become a kind of a partial observer to your other thoughts. But you're already doing the right thing. You're moving the right direction. You're stepping back from experience and you observe it. Become aware of it. That requires stillness. The opposite of stillness is being completely lost in the plot of your thoughts and your senses. So your attention is just wildly moving around based upon whatever stimulates it. If it is a sound, your attention immediately goes there, grabs the sound, thinks about it, elaborates on it, formulates stories. All that as a result of clinging. After clinging, there's becoming. So you start to spin up entire worlds around what you are clinging to. If the mind, for example, clings to this meditation belt, if I'm holding that, and I start to think about it, that's becoming. So if I put it down and I release it, I let it go, it doesn't mean I have to get rid of it. I don't have to throw it away. I just release it. That could also mean that you are releasing it with the palms facing up. It does not have to go away. Perhaps your palms facing down, if you were to release it, then you drop it. But it doesn't matter whether your palms facing up or down. Release is opening that tightness around the object. So you lose your interest. You don't try to get that object far away from you. You're not trying to get away from it. You have no more interest in either getting away from it or getting closer to it. That would be more what release is about. So you're not trying to make distance. Many people, when they hear this, they might think, okay, Tobi talked a bit about distance. And that being the right direction, therefore, I must create distance. You can't create distance, and it doesn't matter. That would be more release. It doesn't matter whether you are feeling super caught up or whether you're feeling very aloof. Doesn't matter. Whether your whole nervous system is on fire with stress or not. What is release is the allowing it to be the way it is without further interacting, without trying to do anything to it. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're not pursuing it. We simply see it for what it is and allow it to be that way it is without getting involved in any way. So that's the tricky part. Because our tendencies, our habits are to get involved, to get caught up, to cling. So that clinging feels in your body, feels like a tightness. If you're really clinging, your whole muscles will tense up. If you're, for example, very afraid of something, your whole body becomes very tense. If you're very relaxed, on the other hand, when the clinging is less, Like when you're lying down on your bed and you're about to go to sleep and you're really softening into the mattress. That clinging in the body releases. So you can go to sleep. If you were to continue to cling to your body, you couldn't go to sleep. That even includes brain activity. If you continue to cling to your brain activity, you can't go to sleep. Hence, overthinking is one of the major blocks why you can't go to sleep or into meditation. Again, the conclusion for a lot of people who listen to this might be, well, since overthinking keeps me from going into meditation, I should stop overthinking then. How do I then let go of my thoughts, they say, but what they mean is, how do I get rid of my thoughts? That's a big difference. Again, letting go does not imply to get rid of something. Letting go is more like letting it be, losing your interest in it. Just like you absolutely have no interest right now in the sound of rain outside. Now you do maybe, because I've mentioned it, but up to this point it didn't even exist. That's because you've let it go. Doesn't mean we have to stop the rain, right? In the same way, your thoughts, they cease to exist if you have no interest in them. And having no interest in them is equal to not clinging to them. You're not even noticing them. You don't care about them. Quite the opposite of a lot of meditators. When they sit down, their primary thing seems to be around thoughts and how disturbing they are and how to somehow get beyond them. Can you see the obstacle in that? It's almost paradoxical. You sit down to let go, but you become even more clingy. Clinging to your meditation, clinging to yourself, clinging to your own peace, no disturbances, trying to create the perfect conditions, this, that, trying to be concentrated, clinging to concentration. And how does that all feel? Easeful or stressful? You be the judge. You can see it quite clearly. Especially if you become more calm. You can see very clearly, now I'm holding. I'm trying. I'm trying to become someone, to get something. To get this good meditation. That's very frustrating if it doesn't go the way I want it to go. Wanting it to go a certain way. Clinging to the idea of how it should be. Then interferes with you becoming relaxed. You don't do any of that as you go to sleep, right? Not like, my sleep quality needs to be such and such. I need to enter this particular dream now as I fall asleep. I want to dream about this. I hope I will dream about this. All this would make the whole process of falling asleep very stressful. You couldn't go to sleep. And so going deeper into meditation in many ways, not completely, but in many ways feels like going to sleep. And you can use that as a gauge. As you sit down upright and you stop moving your body and you go in, if it does not feel like you're falling asleep in the body, you're not really relaxing. Having said that, is a word of caution. You should not fall asleep, and it should not feel like falling asleep all the way. You should have always that clarity, a great sense of alertness. You're fully there while the energy in the body kind of go to sleep. While you're abandoning the external senses, something should stay absolutely awake. And that thing that stays awake even saying thing is a bit incorrect, that awareness that stays awake and clear to that process of falling asleep or going into meditation, that awareness is your bridge into meditation. You're either going to the extreme of getting caught up in your thoughts and the senses, or you're going to the other extreme of complete delusion, dreaming, sleeping. You want to avoid both. This is like a tightrope walk. That you have to do just enough, and then you have to know how to stop doing. In the beginning, particularly, you have to do a lot. You have to sort out your life. You have to sort out your affairs so that you're not overcome by all these distractions during your meditation. Do you think somebody that's living in a war zone can peacefully sit down and meditate? No way. Unless you're already a fully realized being. Okay, but if you're not, there's just no way that you can, being hungry, being injured, being the immediate threat of a bomb hitting the house next to you or your own house, there's just no way that you can just relax peacefully. So if our life is a war zone, forget meditation. I would actually say meditation makes it worse for such people. If your mind and your life are a mess and you're adding meditation to it, it's going to become some sort of messy practice that has nothing to do with what it's actually supposed to do. And that will create further disturbances. There's a lot of people that exacerbate psychological, physical, and social problems with their spiritual practice. They make it worse. They distance themselves more from others, for example. They don't become more warm and kind. They become more standoffish, feeling like they're better than other people, and so on and so forth. And actually, they're building up their sense of self with their spiritual practice, or they become more delusional or neurotic through it. All these things exist because they haven't sorted out their problems. They just add meditation into the mix. Not so good. Imagine you'd have a vessel and even just a tiny bit of feces are stuck inside of that vase. And you were to pour in a lot of pure water. Would you still drink it? Even if it's just a tiny bit of feces, let alone the half of the vase being filled with feces. Pouring in water, in the brown soup, no one would drink it, yes? That's like adding the pure water of meditation to a very messy life. It's not drinkable. You're creating a mixture of, I don't know what. Even a tiny bit is still problematic. So you want to make sure that to, as much as you can, without stressing out about it, without worrying about it, but as a part of your training, as much as you can to gradually adapt yourself to spiritual practice, not trying to bring spiritual practice down to yourself. You want to ascend to it. Align yourself with something that is greater than your current self. Not bring the thing that is holy and sacred down to your current self. So we need to become, as much as possible, a pure vessel. Then you pour in the water of meditation. That's very efficient. And in that water, you can then drink it. You can then build your wisdom, your insight, your clarity, and so on to very high levels. And of course, we're not perfect. I'm not saying you got to clean up your act perfectly. There's no such thing. But you need to lean towards better. Trying to, with the best of your abilities, to be truthful, to be harmless, to be helpful, to be of service to others, to, care for your family, your community, to lead a life that you would respect at the end of it. The less selfish, the better. The more selfish, the worse. And so based upon that, the meditation becomes more easy because you're living a life of kindness and love. That meditation, stillness, calmness becomes much more easy. You kind of like to rest into yourself. Like they say, how can you sleep at night? When they say this to people who are acting in selfish and evil ways, how can you sleep at night? How can that guy relax into his essence when the path down into his essence is through a vessel full of feces? It's not an enjoyable journey, so they can't sleep properly. And if they dive down into that mess, they probably have a lot of nightmares. Because they're acting not in alignment with their higher calling or their soul or spirit or the divine. I mean, call it, these things are important. So if you align yourself with these higher behaviors, then meditation becomes more and more accessible. As it becomes more accessible, you can more and more clearly see how your clinging directly affects your level of stress, of tension, or of release and softness. Then you can also see how your level of release and softness positively affects the world around you. So you're kind of channeling the light and you're bringing that light into the world through your being. And you do that through releasing, through the releasing of your tightness, of your clinging as good as you can. It's a service to yourself and others. It's a service to living beings. It's a very important one. So yeah, that's a short excursion into clinging. Maybe some more comes up next time. I don't know. But hope that was helpful for now. That's finish for today. Thank you for coming.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.